Good morning. This is John from the Springs Mennonite Church, and I'm here today to begin another week and another series. In fact, I'm going to take this week and next week to talk about passages in the Bible that say, if you. Now, the point here is that the Bible tells us things that happen. I don't mean foretells the future. They're not soothsayers or forecasters in that sense. But it does give us some words about if we do something, then something. Now, you and I know kind of how that works. I mean, in our culture, it says if you work hard, you'll be successful. Or when I was growing up, if you get a good education, you're guaranteed a good place in society. If you do this, then that. And a lot of people have found that to be true. Others, well, some of the things that were mentioned in those if-then clauses didn't actually happen. But these are ones that God talks about. So I have a lot of confidence in these. And I'm going to look at several of them and invite you to come along and think about your life and think about what God might be saying. So the first one I'm going to start with is from Jeremiah chapter 29 and verse 13. It reads this way: if you look for me, there's the if you look for me wholeheartedly, then you will find me. If you look for me wholeheartedly, then you will find me. Now, this echoes a passage in Deuteronomy. Not surprisingly, I guess. Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 29, it says here, if you will search for the Lord with all your heart and soul, you will find him. So we see a similarity between the words of Moses as recorded in Deuteronomy and the words of Jeremiah as recorded in his prophecy, his book. So let's take a look at this and see if we can understand it a little better. Again, Jeremiah says, if you look for me wholeheartedly. Deuteronomy says, if you look for me with all your heart and your soul, if you search for me. So the idea of looking and searching are similar here. The idea is to actively engage in a process to find something. In this case, the something is God. If I'm going to search for something, I'm either going to search for something that's lost, like my phone, not so much my keys. I've only lost those a couple of times. Or I'm going to search for something like my dog got lost. I care about that, so I'm going to go look for it. Or maybe I'm going to go search for or look for a new suit. Maybe I need something for these kinds of events. I don't have it, so I'm going to go looking. And when I go looking for those kinds of things, I will check out more than one and decide which one is best. So here the scriptures are saying that if we search for, if we look for God. Now, how do you look for God? I mean, think about it. He's not in a store. There's not an aisle that says, God here. Oh, there might be some books if it's a bookstore that talk about it. But years ago, I wrote a book. I never published it. It's just sitting on my computer. But I wrote a book and I entitled it, Seeing God in the Small Stuff. How do you search for God? Well, you could look at the grand things. And a couple of weeks ago, I saw a rainbow and I posted it on my Facebook page. And surprisingly, when I posted it, the camera saw a second rainbow. The naked eye didn't see that. I didn't see that. But when I took a picture, there it was. So I saw God in that magnificent, completely visible two rainbows. Now that's amazing. And I can explain them scientifically, but that's not the point. God at that moment allowed me to see something that was just majestic. I found God in that. I see God in small things. I have a bird feeder out in the yard, and I enjoy watching. Well, actually, I got several. And often I get a pileated woodpecker. And maybe you've seen one of them. They're giant birds, maybe 14, 15, 16 inches long, have a real bright red tuft on their head. The, the comic Woody Woodpecker was based on that kind of woodpecker. And you can hear them coming. They have a very distinct sound that they always make, or at least they always do at my house when they're showing up. And at one point, I had the pileated woodpecker and two babies. Babies aren't there anymore. I guess they found their own territory. But I can see God in the majesty of that bird. So now, in my situation, let's suppose that life is hard and I'm working and I'm not getting anywhere. How am I going to find God? Well, I kind of look for him. I look for him in things around me. I look for him in people's faces. You know, every once in a while you run into somebody who just seems to smile most of the time. They seem to always exude joy. A lot of people aren't like that. I hope you are. And if you're not, try it. See what happens. There's a there's a proverb about that too, but that's another story. You see, when we search for God, God says, "You will find me." There's no maybe. There's no well, it depends, or well, you'll find me if you do this instead. If we open up our lives and in Jeremiah says with your whole heart, if you look with all of your being, not just your physical eyes, not just your intellect, but with even your emotions, if you look to find God, God says you'll find him. It really is pretty simple. All I know is complicated. But all we have to do, really, wherever we are in life, is stop what we're doing and start asking God to reveal himself. Now don't wait for the huge voice from the mountain in the Ten Commandments. Look for the small things. Look for the little things. This morning, looking out my bathroom window, the sun shines brightly. I face the east. I get to see it all the time. Look for the birds flying in the air. And yesterday on my bird feeder in the area was a hummingbird. I was told a few weeks ago when I was preaching there was a hummingbird around my head. Some people wondered if it was going to settle in my hair. I don't know. To the people who looked and saw, they saw a marvelous creature of God. And when we can see that and see the goodness and the grace of God, our lives will change. They really will. So I invite you to look, invite you to see what will happen because God promises if you seek him, you will find him. Thanks for listening. If you have a need or a concern, let us know. We'll do everything we can as fast as we can to help meet your need. Till tomorrow, God bless you. I'll talk to you again.